exception. So this round you can debate using your tablets and laptops, but for the future reference, you will not be allowed to have any electronic devices during the debates.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, so just find someone one of the trainers to have, so they can print out your case.
I apologize. Okay, your team. Your team.
Can you also move up, please? Hi.
You want me to do it here?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Could you also move up so you're in the same level? Oh, you can stay there. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. So we're waiting for another judge, right?
I think so.
So when you put this here, I mean, it makes weird noises, so I wouldn't advise you to sit on it.
Hi, everyone. German is okay as well.
Okay, welcome to Ireland and welcome to the 19th IDA Forum. I really hope you have a great experience here debating with your national teams and also later on debating in the MPT track or the BP track. But anyways, remember, have fun during debates and enjoy, other social elements of these forum. Do not forget about that. So, if there are any questions, please do ask, but otherwise, I would like to invite the first speaker of the government to the podium. Before that, the motion is actively circumventing internet censorship is a legitimate foreign policy tool. That's today's motion, and yeah, good luck. Oh, by the way, I will also be timekeeping. So, first speakers have 6 minutes, other speakers have 5 minutes, cross-examination 3 minutes. I'm just gonna be showing you the minutes remaining and the last 30 seconds. And this is the end of the speech. You have 15 seconds to finish your call. Okay?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Good luck.
All right, hold on.
You ready?
I was bold in the pursuit of knowledge, never fearing to follow truth and reason to whatever results they lead to, and bearing every authority that stood in our way. Thomas Jefferson. It is because of the meanings and implications of this quote that my team and I affirm today's resolution. Resolve. Actively circumventing internet censorship is a legitimate foreign policy tool. Definitions distributed by Merriam-Webster. Actively. Done with the aim of making something happen rather than just hoping it will. Circumventing. The act of evading by going around. Internet censorship. Control or suppression of the publishing or accessing of the information on the internet. Legitimate. Legitimacy is determined when the action or policy mutually benefits society as a whole. Foreign policy. A policy governing international relations. Observation 1. Actions versus intentions. For the sake of this debate, arguments of a country's actions must be held to a higher weight than a country's intention, and we have no way of determining a country's intention because it's not set in stone. If we were to make a negative assumption of the country's intention, that would be illegitimate. For fair going, we must argue with the actions being done rather than the intentions behind them. Contention 1. Knowledge is a right, not a privilege. The acquisition of knowledge in modern day society has skewered the once simple principle that knowledge is a right and not a privilege. Knowledge has been taken for granted in two very different ways. For example, the existence of the website Google has made information readily available to anyone who can push a button. The ease of access has led to many to take for granted what some people will find impossible to attain. Countries such as North Korea have kept a close lock on information on their people. People living in this country have little to no knowledge of the outside world and are taught to demonize all foreign influence as demanded by their tyrannical leader. In a recent development, Kim Jong-un, leader of North Korea, has announced a crackdown on knowledge smugglers, people who sneak across the border delivering potentially harmful information. And what is this dangerous material? South Korean sword opera recordings and Bibles. No one has the right to withhold knowledge. To do so is a crime against basic human want. It goes against the nature of humanity. Contention 1. Contention 2. Internet censorship. Internet censorship is a way of controlling what people see on the internet. This can be used to prevent people from seeing harmful information such as child pornography, but it can also use to control information that the country's government deems inappropriate. Arab IP Center states, the censorship is usually to limit the access to the sites of minority groups that contradict what the government has told people. In some cases, this can include censorship of sites that are religious in nature. For the most part, this type of censorship is about making sure that information that could be a threat to the ruling powers does not get seen by the people. What this does create is a society where the public is not informed of what is around them. This prohibits the citizens from ever actually branching out to discover new technologies and ideas. In the 1700s, when Japan was exposed to the rest of the world, they immediately developed into an advanced technological society. Internet censorship slows the growth of society. Contention 3, the spread of information. Circumvention of the internet censorship allows for citizens within these countries that practice internet censorship to have more knowledge and information around them. This betters everyone because a more informed public is a smarter one. The internet is the biggest information database in the world. As such, restricting people from accessing this huge amount of information hurts not only those citizens, also the entire world. With the spread of information comes the spread of ideas. As more ideas are created, those ideas are then put into play onto the world. There is a greater good for the greater amount of people because information and theories are created from the increase of ideas. So point B, the good of society. With the spread of information and ideas comes a reduction of ignorance around the world as well as more advancements in theories and technology. Arab IP Center states, many foreign websites including YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and the New York Times are blocked. Searches for controversial topics such as corruption scandals or the jailed Nobel Peace Prize winner Liu Xiaobo return error messages. Users evade controls using proxy servers. How brilliant would Albert Einstein be if there was no one as smart as him to share ideas with? As more people become informed and smarter, more ideas are developed, which turns into lead to a better society. With this advance of society, it would be the moral duty of any country to actively circumvent internet censorship. Censorship is slowing the growth of society. Internet constitutes a new form of information transfer, more widely used and able to disseminate information, especially universal and non-propagandized viewpoints. As a result, this unprecedented form of information transfer, the internet, is deserving of its own set of rules and guidelines established to protect the free and unfettered transfer of information to all individuals as a protection of those rights defined in the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. Contention 4, increase of progress. As information and theories increase, there comes an increase in the progress because there are more people testing and creating ideas. This progress creates a better, more advanced society. With this possible increase in society, it is the duty of countries with the ability to circumvent internet censorship to do so. Such a violation is defined by the Article 19 of the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. It grants all individuals the right to seek, receive, and impart information and ideas through any media, regardless of frontiers. HRW. Thank you.
Thank you to the first speaker of the affirmative team. How much time do you need?
30 seconds.
30. Timothy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me start my question time. First, what do you think of the internet censorship?
What do I think of internet censorship?
Yeah.
Myself. I believe that it is just a block in front of our eyes, and so we can't see the information that's going on around us.
Okay, thank you. And next, please tell me the structure of your constructive speech.
The structure
Structure of your speech.
of my speech?
Yeah.
I'm not fully understanding your question, like my structure.
Yeah, so I think there are 4 points, right?
Yes. Oh, okay, yeah. There are 4 points in observation.
Okay, thank you. And the first point is about.
The first point is knowledge is a right, not a privilege.
And second point is about internet censorship.
The second one, yes.
And third point is better information.
The spread of information.
Free information.
Yes.
And what is the fourth point?
First point?
Fourth point.
Fourth point, I'm sorry. The increase of progress.
And I think you say that if the one country one country circumvent another country's internet censorship, social progress for the new new technology will stop, right?
If we are to block the information coming to these people, yes.
Why?
Why? Because first, you don't even know what kind of technology is out there, seeing how you cannot have access to all of which people are sharing and creating.
But is there any country please show me the example.
The example we gave a historical example where we talked about how Japan, oh wow, that's awkward. In the 1700s wasn't as advanced society as the rest of the world because they were actually in an isolationist stance. Whereas when they were exposed to the rest of the world, they rapidly jumped into this hyper-industrial nation.
But how about China? I think China censors a lot of other countries. But I think China censors a lot. But I think that country is one of the most biggest economical country.
Economical.
Yeah. So I think that country's progress doesn't stop. How about that?
I would like to point out the difference between economic progress and technological progress.
Not economical, but actually China is one of the biggest countries, don't you think so?
Literally.
Yeah, but China actually censors. But China censors their own country's internet. But that country's progress doesn't stop. What do you think about this point?
I would like to point out that as they are progressing economically, I would like to point out that they're not progressing technologically as they are not. Can I finish my point?
Yeah.
Okay. As they are not finding efficient ways to progress their economy, they're just finding hard, how do I say that? They're putting more effort into it rather than just finding efficient and technological ways to do it.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Quick question. Are we allowed to use our cell phones sometimes?
Huh?
Are we allowed to use our cell phones
As
sometimes?
timer? Yes, but that's it. How much time?
I have a timer on me. Do you have a timer on you?
Sure.
In the bag?
I'll tell you every minute.
My bag's in.
minutes. Right?
2 minutes.
I'll just let you know every minute so you know where you're at.
Do you want to guess?
Minutes.
Start. This debate is about the boundary of sovereignty. There is no universal standard of free speech, not only in the real world, but also the internet. So we strongly believe it should be defined each country's standards. In order to support this, we have two arguments. Number one, the principle of the sovereignty. Number two, the why sovereignty should be extended to the restriction of sovereignty, is free speech. And the first point about principle with sovereignty. The government should concentrate on administering their own country and should not interfere in other countries' governance actively. It is because every government around the world has the sovereignty over its country, and it is the government that knows the best way to govern and stabilize its country. And having sovereignty means that its government has the privilege of administering its country, and this must not be infringed, because the government is one of the sovereignty is one of the most essential elements to form its country. A country cannot exist without the sovereignty. Also, each country has the different cultures and history, religious, peoples, customs, and so on. Therefore, other people cannot understand these kind of things easily. And this is the thing that you sometimes hardly understand that other families lose. The government carries out its policy according to these situations, so it is natural that each country in the world implements different policy on the same issue. As a matter of fact, consider abortion. Some countries prohibit it, though other countries permit it. Also, some countries implement this penalty, but others not. This belief, non-intervention, is also provided for the international law and the Charter of United Nations. So we strongly believe that the governments around the world have to obey this law, especially when they implement foreign policy. And we assert that circumventing internet censorship is against no intervention law. We think of internet censorship as one of the policies taken by the government according to its national interest, cultural, historical background, and so on. So there are various censorship taken by the country, not only regulation of the democratization movement, but also prohibition of seeing pornography, Nazi content, or hate speech, and an act of political scandal, corruption, and so on. Therefore, circumventing internet censorship means intervention in other governance of another country. So, and this is not allowed. And next, about argument 2, why the sovereignty should be extended to the restriction of the free speech. We have two reasons. Reason A, it is because there are non-negotiable interests to protect its citizens, such as social security. And reason B, it is because of uniqueness of internet. Reason A, we strongly believe that our government should protect its citizens and society and give its priority in them. And because it is natural to think that no government works well without the safety of society. And censorship against antisocial information are needed because such information are potentially adverse effect on the general public. Perhaps those who have given unfavorable influence on may cause antisocial movements. If this happens, the government will no longer keep society safe. If we admitted that actively circumventing internet censorship is a legitimate foreign policy too, it would mean that we also admit that one country can intentionally circumvent another country's internet censorship, and for such dangerous information and may end up causing disorder to its society. No country or government will be able to complain about it. We cannot admit such a cruel things in this current belief in the international law, because the government should avoid international conflict as much as they can. Therefore, we assert that actively circumventing internet censorship is not legitimate foreign policy too. Reason being, it is because of uniqueness of internet. As a matter of course, internet has much uniqueness. It is borderless and anonymous, and it has no universal rules. Also, there is no one who rules it around the world, so potentially the internet can be anarchy. This means everyone can do anything they want on the internet, and the online free speech can be careened beyond their control. And this may lead to the aggression of other rights like defamation and infringement of privacy. So the state should govern its internet society as well as the real world to protect citizens' rights. In other words, the government has the sovereignty over the internet, and in that case, each state should govern their own country's internet world, because standards of free speech are different from one country to another. For example, Holocaust is prohibited in Germany but permitted in other countries. So we cannot admit actively circumventing internet censorship is a legitimate foreign policy too. And I will move on to refutation. They say that if internet is censored, the progress of society is stopped. But it is not true, because on the cross-examination, in China the internet is censored, but China is developing. So it is not problem. And they said about Japan, but it is out of date, because in the 1970 the internet isn't open widespread, so their argument is not correct. Please come on this point. And that's all.
Thank you to the opening speaker for the opposition.
So my first question. So what was your first point in your speech?
The principle of sovereignty.
Okay, so you gave an example about the Holocaust. I didn't quite catch that. What were you talking about when you mentioned the Holocaust?
A Holocaust example is the second argument.
Can you tell me more about that? I didn't really catch that argument about the Holocaust.
Holocaust is permitted other countries, some countries, but some countries permitted.
Okay. Do you think it is right for countries that have the ability to stop wrong from happening to stand back and let the wrong happen because it's in a different country?
Pardon?
Do you think that countries that have the power to stop something, let's say the Holocaust, from happening, but stand back because it's not their country, do you think they're committing legitimate just action?
Yes, because its country knows the best way to stabilize in the government country.
Okay. You also say in your case, you say in your second, you say in your sub-point B, you say in your sub-point B, you talk about government has a duty to protect its citizens and censorship keeps them safe, correct?
Sorry?
So that was your contingent, that was your argument 2, subpoint A.
Point A, there is no non-negotiable interest to protect citizens such as social security.
Okay. So how does Social Security factor into internet censorship?
Sorry.
How are Social Security and internet censorship linked?
Because the government have to protect their own citizens and society.
Okay.
And it's
What happens in a case like, let's say, the Holocaust, where the government is not protecting some of the citizens but actually harming them? Don't you think that it would be right for another government to help them out? Okay. On to your contention 2. Your argument 2, subpoint B. You said the universe has no universal laws or barriers, but the only barrier is the government. Correct? You talk about how the internet is a unique entity, and the only barrier between bad information is the government. Correct? Okay, so can you give me an example of how bad information is actually harming the growth of society in a sovereign nation?
For example, some
Okay, so let's just say I looked up on Google how to make a nuclear weapon, and it showed me steps how in order to get the products, because that's all on the internet. Is it next question? Okay.
No,
Oh.
that was 3 minutes.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. Thanks. How much time do you need?
We're just gonna start the timer and
Okay.
stop it.
I'll tell you in a minute.
Thank you. I was like switch from
Oh, sorry.
Minute.
Okay, stop the time.
Okay. You have 3 minutes used.
Thank you. Okay, so let's start on the net case. So on my opponent's case, they focus mainly on sovereignty, and saying that sovereignty means that no other country can be involved in the actions of another country, as in the government of one country its duty is to protect those citizens, and no other country can infringe on that. So let's go back to my case. We stay on our first contention that knowledge is a right, not privilege. So if a country itself is harming its citizens by stopping the flow of knowledge to be received by its citizens, then they're harming the rights of those citizens. The human rights are inalienable. So let's go back to their case. Let's sit by saying that sovereignty means that no other country can be involved in the actions of another country. So if the government is harming its own citizens' rights by stopping the flow of knowledge, which is a human right, then it's a duty to any other country to circumvent that internet censorship so that the knowledge can be received by those citizens. So sovereignty is what they really talk about in their case overall. Now let's go to what my opponents stated in cross-ex about China, saying that China uses internet circumvention. It uses internet censorship, but it's still economically growing. So let's look at how many people China has. Over 2 billion, almost 2 billion. So when China has so many people, let's look to how fast China could be progressing versus how fast China actually is. So when you have China, a major country that has billions of people, let's look to the potential of how fast China could be progressing. So my opponents are ignoring this. They're only looking to how, okay, China's progressing, so that means our argument's wrong. But let's look at the potential of China has to progress versus how it actually is. Okay, so now let's go to my opponent's contention 2, where they talk about social insecurity being caused by internet censorship, and they also talk about disorder to society and also internet uniqueness. So let's start off with social insecurity. Okay, Judge, so what you focus on is this is a short-term effect. My opponents say that in the short term, when internet censorship is circumvented, then this causes a disorder in society. Well, we can look to this as a short term because this only happens in the short term, basically. But in the long term, when there's a flow of ideas, which leads to an increase in ideas, which leads to a well-informed public, this is a long-term effect that will help the world as a whole. Which our definition of legitimate, which my opponents can define legitimacy, so you can only look to our definition of legitimate, which provides equal play on both sides to argue. Our definition of legitimate being a policy that has mutual benefits for society as a whole. Well, society as a whole is being benefited by the spread of ideas and which leads to technological growth. In our case, we state, look at Albert Einstein. How smart would Albert Einstein be if there was no one as smart as him? When there's more people that are well informed, this leads to ideas that can be created because they can bounce ideas off of each other, which leads to a well-informed public, which leads to an increase in society. Which my opponents ignore this completely. So my opponents basically uphold in their case the rights of the government and the duty of the government versus the rights of the citizens. My case. And my team, we're upholding the rights of the citizens while my opponents are upholding the ones of the government. So which one is more important? Well, you look to how my opponents state in their own case that the duty of the government is to protect its citizens. So if they're harming the human right of the citizens by stopping the flow of ideas, then it's absolutely another country's duty to circumvent internet censorship. So you can only look to the affirmative side. So I'm just going to go over the legitimacy debate. So let's look to which creates a mutual benefit for the society as a whole. So we'll look to the flow of information versus the duty of government, which my opponents don't uphold the duty of government in themselves because the governments that practice internet censorship are stopping the flow of ideas. So if this is stopping the flow of ideas, then you can only look to internet circumvention, which leads to an increase in progress, which means spread of ideas, which leads to benefits all over the world as a whole. So you can only look to the affirmative side, and that's why we'll vote affirmative.
Thank you to the second speaker of the government side.
Sorry.
Okay, I will come to some questions. First of all, please tell me the structure your speech?
I basically just attacked your case, one in contention two, and then I wanted to the legitimacy argument about how both sides support legitimacy, and I just brought up your sovereignty. So basically, I was just attacking your case and showing why the affirmative has won.
Okay. And about the first point.
Okay. Wait, first point as in on a case or what I attacked?
You attacked.
Okay.
Please tell me more.
Okay, so I was basically saying how I was going back to my first contention by saying knowledge is a right, not a privilege. So when the government of a country that practices internet censorship is harming those its own citizens' rights, then it's the duty of another country to circumvent that internet censorship to provide the basic human right of knowledge is a right of knowledge.
You said that about third point. You said in short term. You talked about.
Oh yeah, disorder to society.
Yes.
Yeah, I was basically attacking that by saying that's a short-term effect. By saying that only happen in the short term, and in the long term, it'll lead to increase in ideas, which leads to increase in technology. Because like the disorder in society goes to one country, which focus only impacts one country for a short-term period, but the spread of knowledge impacts the world as a whole in the long term.
Yes. Okay. And about the last point, you said that the ideas are spread. The society will develop, right?
Mm-hmm.
And okay. So why?
Can you repeat your question? Can you repeat your question?
Ask me.
Can you repeat your question?
Okay. If ideas are spread,
Yes.
the society will develop, right?
Yes.
And why?
Okay, so in our case, we give an example of Albert Einstein in the sense as in, if one person is smart and has knowing ideas, then that won't lead to anywhere. But if multiple people have ideas and can bounce ideas off of each other, which lead to an increase of ideas, then that benefits society because you have more and more ideas being created. Do you have any other questions?
Okay, that's all.
Okay, time?
2 minutes. Let's see, 30 more seconds, please.
5 minutes. Can I start? Hello, Mr. Speaker. I'm the second speaker. I start my rebuttal. They said, other governments, the government side said, other governments should circumvent as the internet censorship of another country. But please confirm this point. Our side's argument one, very important principle, has not been adopted. So this act is infringing as a country's sovereignty. Please confirm this point. And please confirm this point. The freedom of expression is different from one country to another country. So other country can't infringe this sovereignty easily. And next, I want to add new arguments. I want to say no internet is better than no. Some internet is better than no internet. I want to explain. After plan, every state can circumvent censorship out of other countries. So states like China will feel that internet is a threat, and they will censor more strictly. So finally, some of them will shut down completely the internet. So this is an endless vicious circle. So on the contrary, this plan restricts internet more and more. Please confirm this point. And they focused on only economical and technological issues. But about these methods, please confirm our first speech and the question time about China. Please confirm this point. And about the proof of Japan, please confirm this point. Please confirm our first speaker. And if we want to accelerate economical and technological matters, we can circumvent internet censorship as individuals. Please confirm this point. And they didn't prove why governments should do these things. And if we want to make high technological advanced manufacture, we can't invent these manufacturers without meeting others in there. And for example, the iPad or other manufacturers are made by people. In meeting others in there. And the government side didn't prove any high technological and how technological manufacture has been invented by only greeting on the internet. They didn't prove and they didn't say this point. Please go on this point. And next. They say China has developed because there are many people in that country. But country who has many populations can develop even if we take this plan. Please confirm this point. Okay. And they say about social. They rebutted about social security, and they say in the long run, the security will improve if we take this plan. But sharing idea is can really sharing an idea and inventing some high technological manufacture can stabilize social security. They didn't answer. Please confirm this point. Thank you.
Thank you to the second speaker of the organization. Time.
program?
Yes, please. There's still time to run.
Yeah. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, that's fine. I know, I just want to get my. I'm done.
Huh? Okay. You use 45 seconds.
Okay, that's. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so in your case, you talked about, and you also responded to our argument where we said that governments have an obligation to help those countries which governments are harming their people.
Even if so, it is against sovereignty, I say.
Okay, so can you explain to me why sovereignty is supreme?
Please come on. Sovereignty is the most important element of the country.
Okay, so
And please come on our argument one. If we admit these things, there's endless conflict.
okay. In your speech, you said that we didn't attack your first argument, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So why do you didn't we clearly attack your argument in our second speech where we talked about how we are directly obligated to circumvent or help any country that isn't where we
I understand
Okay.
this point, but you didn't say, but maybe you didn't say why protecting these people is superior to the sovereignty. You didn't say.
Okay. Also, in your speech, you said, can you explain to your attack where you were talking about how how the iPad wasn't invented just through meeting people?
Now, people and companies invent manufacturers
Yes.
in their meeting with you and
Yeah.
others.
Okay, but do you, for example, people in North Korea, do you think they're even aware, the general population are aware of an iPad even being there, like an invention? And then how are we supposed to expect these people that don't even know that it exists, how do we expect them to create and think of better ways, for example, to create a product or a better way to make an industrial thing if they don't even know it exists?
Sorry, pardon.
Oh my god, I'm sorry. I apologize. How do we expect people to create and share if they aren't even aware of an idea?
Maybe idea is important, but now people can we can invent new and high technological materials without taking this plan.
Okay. And then also, one last question. In your last speech, you said that we didn't attack your social security argument.
Oh.
Is that correct? Because in our second speech also, then we directly attacked your argument where we said that these harms. Can I finish my question? Okay. That these harms are directly that are just short-term effects, and of course it would be disorder if you show them their government is false in their actions. But then we directly attack that by saying it's just a short-term effect, and the long-term effect is more beneficial than the harm.
So that's too much.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking.
Time? I guess the remaining.
Yeah, people.
Yeah, then just be.
Maybe like move closer as the big go. So.
One minute, you have 3 left.
Look. Go ahead. How's that work? Okay, so as a brief roadmap, we'll be going over the main arguments in the case while looking back at our case and the arguments again made. So our first observation, we talked about the short-term versus the long-term effects. The short-term versus the long-term effects of this debate. All these things, circumvention, which harms their argument of sovereignty, this is a short-term effect, and what we're trying to achieve on the affirmative side is the betterment of an entire society, not just one sovereign nation. So the first thing we're trying to knock out here is the issue of sovereignty in our opponent's case. They say that we have not proven why sovereignty is not the supreme power, why sovereignty should be valued above the mutual beneficency of all people. What we're looking at here in our case is we're talking about every single nation all around the world, not just one country, not just North Korea, not just China, not just America. We're talking about all countries. And the betterment and spread of knowledge is good for every single one of these countries. There is no harm being done when you say that here's how you do this and here's how you do that. Let us go get together and make something. That is something that is done through the internet. The internet is the best way of communication that we've ever had to date. Okay? With the internet, it is a very unique thing in the way that how beneficial the internet is. With the internet, we have the ability to connect people all around the world, but that's only if those people let us. That's how the issue of sovereignty comes and harms the spread of knowledge. And that's what we're trying to uphold in our case. So our opponents say in their in the second contention argument, the second contention subpoint A, where they say that it is the government's duty to protect its people by doing this with sovereignty, they're protecting its people. We gave very specific examples of the Holocaust. The Holocaust was happened in a sovereign nation. It did not happen in our nation. It happened to people across an entire ocean. But the difference was what was happening was that these people were being harmed and killed for no apparent reason except for the fact that they were being Jews. And it is our duty, it is our moral right for us to go in and stop something that is bad for the entire world. And eradicating the entire race is not good for anyone. Now, they also contradict themselves by saying it's the government's duty to protect their people, and you can cross-examine that with our first contention. We say that knowledge is a right and not a privilege. Knowledge is a right. All people want to learn and gather new experiences and new ideas. By harming this, you're going into basic human nature, and therefore harming humanity as a whole. Therefore, that is not a government helping its people, it's a government hurting its people. On their contention 2, subpoint B, where they talk about the internet has no universal rules. The internet is a very unique entity, as I said before, as was said before in the entire case. But the difference being between the internet being harmful and the internet being useful is we can look at two different countries. We can look at China and North Korea. China, even though it has some internet censorship, it does not have the same amount of internet censorship that North Korea does. And look at how far China has become with that just little bit of internet censorship. And let's also go to China as a whole. China as a whole has almost 2 billion people. Imagine the amount of potential and the amount of great things that they could do if they were to let the people be free in the way that other democratic nations are and give them no internet censorship. They are harming their own potential, their own growth by doing this, which is a perfect example for our side. So China should be floated across on our side by saying that the potential that they have is not being reached because they have internet censorship, which is what we say in our past CX. So we'd like to flow across our contention for the increase of progress, where we say that internet censorship as a whole, even with the China case, with the Holocaust, everything we talked about, the aspect of progress through internet, through information has not been harmed. On both sides, we've talked about how internet censorship is either a sovereign thing or it's the right thing to do, but neither side has refuted that the spreading of knowledge is a good thing and achieves progress. So please flow across into contention 4, and same thing goes across for contention 3, the spreading of information. The spreading of information is a good thing, no matter how you look at it. Even if it's bad information, that depends on the individual. We're talking about the spread of information as a whole, which has been shown throughout all societies is a good thing. On to Albert Einstein, an example that we gave in our first case. Albert Einstein was a very smart man, but he would not be nearly as smart or appreciated if everyone stayed the same level of intelligence they did then. They gathered his ideas, they learned from the things that he did, and they bettered themselves as a society, which is what we're trying to achieve here on the Affirmative side. We're trying to say that knowledge is a good thing. Good knowledge, bad knowledge, nuclear weapons, all those things can come together and benefit us as a society. What we do with that knowledge is completely up to us and the individuals, but knowledge in itself should not be taken away because that takes away potential and opportunities for all people to have and all people should have, as said in our first contention with knowledge is a right and not a privilege. So for a brief, just a closing thing I'm going to say, we uphold legitimacy, and we say that our opponents did not give a different definition of legitimacy. Therefore, we have to uphold our definition of legitimacy, which says the betterment of all people. And since that another definition was not given, that is just, we have to look at our definition, and we prove our definition in our case. Thank you.
Thank you. Making sure you have 2.5 minutes left.
Huh? 2 minutes and 30 seconds.
Yeah. Minute and a half left. Two and a half minutes. You're out of time.
Okay, 5 minutes live. Okay. Can I start? Okay, let me start my speech. Okay, first, I declare that winner of this debate is us, the negative side. I prove that following my speech. Firstly, please confirm that our first speaker, this debate is about bound of sovereignty. Please confirm this point. This debate is about bound of sovereignty. And so the affirmative side have to prove that the great idea is superior to one country's sovereignty. Please confirm this point. But they haven't proved this point. Yes, actually, great idea is great because it is great idea. But why it should be spreaded, and by infringing one country's sovereignty. Please confirm this point. This point is not clear. Please confirm this point. And please confirm our argument 1. This point is not attacked. Please confirm, let's confirm what we said about our argument 1. We say that principle of sovereignty, and we assert that governments should concentrate on administering their own countries because each country has different cultures, history, peoples, customs, and so on. So the one country cannot understand another country's dominant condition. It is the same as you cannot understand other families' rules. Please confirm this point. This point is not attacked, so this is a consensus of this debate. This point is admitted by the government side too. Please confirm this point. And so sovereignty is very, very important thing in this debate. Please confirm this point. And next about our argument 2. Firstly, they say that infringing sovereignty is short-term, short-bout effect. But no, the answer is no. This is the long-term effect too. Please confirm this point. Because if we admit that the actively circumventing internet censorship is a legitimate foreign policy too, it also means that we admit that any country can censor another country's any country can circumvent another country's censorship. Please confirm this point. Whatever the reason is, please confirm this point. So if we admit such a thing, by implementing this plan, there will be no border, and we prove that if we admit that motion, that is against the international law. We proved. So admitting this motion also means against the international law. If so, national conflict will happen many times after the plan. We cannot admit such a cruel thing. Please confirm this point. And also, they say that about Holocaust, but they misunderstanding our argument. Holocaust example is about argument 2's reason B. We want to prove about from Holocaust's example is that the restriction of free speech is different from one country to another. So they misunderstanding this point. So there is no effective attack this point too. Please confirm this point. And about reason A, we showed the example, and and reason A is about there are non-negotiable interests to protect citizens such as social security is still remaining too. Please confirm this point. Okay. And please back to the government side case. Please confirm our second speech. There is no attack about if the idea, spreading idea is so important, then the individual should circumvent censorship. Governments don't have to do so. This point is not attacked too. Please confirm this point. Okay, at last I compare affirmative negative. Please ask yourself. Please ask yourself, which is important, great idea or sovereignty? If you have great idea, if there is no material, you cannot use that idea. But sovereignty is very, very important thing. This is a consensus of this debate. So if the sovereignty will be infringed by implementing this plan, we should not, we must not implement this plan or admit the motion. Please confirm this point. Thank you for listening.
Thank please, debaters, shake hands and wait outside. We're gonna take a couple of minutes to finish our ballot, and afterwards you will receive feedback. It's gonna be a general feedback, but in case you want personal feedback, just find us or we'll talk in private.
Okay.
Or we can also do the personal feedback if you want to. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, this is gonna just do it for the camera.
Very good speech.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Nice shaking hands.
Thank you very much.
Good job. Good job.
Thank you.
Oh, good. All right. Let's go third time.
Oh, you do well.
Excuse me. Did you just drop? Well, we don't want
Let's take a picture together.
Oh, yeah, no problem. I guess. Did you just I just dropped it. I'm sorry. Oh, your cell phone isn't on. Hey, take pictures. Take pictures. I know. Oh! Just a second. Stole my pose. Dang it. No, don't do that. Wow. Video page.
Yeah.
One, two, three. Oh.